Hey, what's up? I'm Nate Chen, and I'm at Committed today with John Maykrantz, and we wanted to talk about, or at least I wanted to ask John, what his thoughts are on bought versus built. What's your take on it?
Bolt versus built kind of applies to like each individual's build. So if you invest in good quality parts or have somebody do it properly the first time, it's a little bit more investment up front, but you'll spend less money overall because you won't be working through problems or additional damage and stuff that you may occur because you didn't do it properly the first time. So if you have a lot of experience, then you might be able to do it yourself perfectly fine. But if you're kind of just winging it, you might end up costing yourself more money in learning and damaging things in the meantime versus just having somebody do it right the first time.
Yeah, I mean, to go off that point, like, I think it's something that, when I considered, like, basically a few years ago to build the GT86, one of the big factors was, it's not just you're putting together the car for me, you also are leveraging the, decades of experience that you have, which you just, if you're building your own car, you have zero. Well,
Yeah.
assuming that you have zero, right?
Yeah, the experience saves you money because
Right.
you already went down a bunch of routes and know that, like, if we do this time, we're already a step ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the LS swap and, this chassis, you've done 350Z, you've done RX-8, a bunch of other ones, but you've basically applied like every lesson that you've taken from each chassis and applied it to mine. And then you're going to take what you learned from this one and apply it to the next one, right? I mean, that's kind of...
Yeah, it's generationally building something. So, yeah. I mean, but that's, like I said, that's experience. Some people can start their experience at a point, but by building experience, you also accrue some damages by it. So that's what I was saying. Like, if you're somebody building something from scratch and you're willing to take the effort, you can do it, but you might damage or you might cost yourself 3 times as much doing it because you're learning as you're going versus talking to somebody that has the experience and they're like, all right, we're going to do it this way because I've already done it this way and I know it already works. Like,
And so how does that translate for driver development too? Because I would imagine, like, you've probably seen a lot of drivers struggle with improper cars that they try to build themselves versus ones that you've helped build over the years.
Yeah, that's actually probably one of the biggest ones because it's like to save money, a lot of people work on their own cars, but they may be a good natural driver, but they're not the best mechanic for themselves. So it's like to step out of the workshop and just drive the car is probably the best thing for a lot of people. But that all comes down to funds anyway. Like some people just can't afford it, and that's why they're willing to wing it and try to find out if they can get it right the first, second, or third time. But to the point you're making before, sometimes it's just if that's the case, it's better to spend a little extra money to have somebody that knows what they're doing do it the first time, and then you don't have to try 3-4 times and potentially make even more damage.
So at what point does it make sense for someone to bring you their car? Would you say like beginners that are just getting into it with a very basic car setup, or do you just find that most people are coming to you with a wealth of knowledge on the driving front already and then coming for kind of like that next step to develop their program into a Pro-Am or Pro Spec or Formula Drift Pro thing? Where would you recommend?
That line that's a blurry line because I mean you could be somebody that's never done it before and you just want a basic, like I need something to work and you just need some basic setup or basic this or that, and it may be cheaper instead of you tinkering and trying to figure out yourself in your garage and spending the money on the wrong parts or doing the wrong thing, and just like, hey, can you just make this setup and get me going because I want to like start to learn. I said in a case like that, yeah, sure, it might be better just to come to somebody like us and have the car put together. I mean, you don't have to spend a fortune doing it in that situation. But Pro-Am stuff too, it's like you have gotten yourself so far as a Pro-Am driver, but you've also worked on your own car. But to progress, sometimes you need to, take one of those hats off, let somebody take care of a certain aspect of it, that they have the experience in that side, and you can take your driving experience and progress that instead of worrying about the vehicle. So now you're concentrating on just building your driving, and then somebody else can use their experience to build the vehicle. So I don't know. I said there's values in new drivers, and there's value in drivers that are moving up into higher classes. It's just what you're looking for and how it fits you. Like,
yeah, no, I mean that totally makes sense. Obviously, like that's how our relationship has gone. Like you've handled all of the build on this car. I have not really touched any of it. And then, in years past, like I've been driving since I was 16 with that car, and another car before it. But most of the work on this car, I would say, has been done by me, except for some of the newer fabrication stuff that you've brought, which is, the front.
Some of the stuff that needed to be fixed.
Okay, after I might have stuffed it into the wall a few times. Yeah, I mean, but point is like, yeah, your expertise obviously is really useful when it comes to the fabrication side, but when it comes to like nuts and bolts on this car, like I think I've done pretty much all of it since I got the car 7 or 8 years ago. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I mean, like to your point too, it's like we'll use that cross member in the front that you've had it repaired 3-4 times now.
Yeah.
And it's broke 3-4 times again.
Yeah.
So it was here to get that replaced so it would stop doing that. And that's the example of what you were asking earlier is like, when does that apply to like trying to do it yourself versus having somebody just do it right the first time? It's like, it may be a little bit more to have somebody else do it for you, but then it's just fixed and it's done and it's ready to go versus you did it and then it damaged and then you did it again and it broke and then it took out your radiator. It's like, that's the kind of thing that you can sometimes avoid by just sitting back and thinking about that choice you're about to make is like, should I do this myself and wing it, or should I just get somebody to knock it out and do it right for me the first time? Like,
yeah, and that's a perfect point, especially when my focus is, again, trying to get on track as many times as possible in my practice car to be able to drive my competition car to my personal like fullest potential, right? Assuming everything mechanically works on both cars. So yeah, I mean, I guess the takeaways from this are, hey, if you have your own skill set and you love building cars, then go for it. But if you're someone like me who is always more focused on trying to become like the best driver that I could be, it makes a lot of sense to partner with John or find, if you don't live in the Mid-Atlantic region, finding a shop partner to work with you to help, basically accomplish your driving goals. Because if you look at any NASCAR team, Formula One team, it's a team sport, but it's a team sport in a way where people have individual roles. I mean, there's the truck driver to get the transportation stuff down. There's somebody in Formula One, they even have people that manage the helmets, which is insane to me. I mean, I just, like there is a helmet guy. That is his job.
Well, the helmets cost as much as most drift cars. So like,
yeah, I mean, obviously we don't have the type of budget that the Formula One team has. So everyone wears multiple hats, just like an entrepreneurial small business. But at the same time, you can't wear all the hats and be successful, I think, in this competitive space in this day and age. So any final thoughts on bought versus built, John?
Just sit back and think about what you're about to do and make your own decision. I said, because that kind of thing can go either way. It may make sense for you to do things yourself in some cases, and in other cases, like if you think the difficulty level's out of your range, or you think of what could happen, then maybe in that case it's better to find somebody that's experienced in that exact thing, and they can do it for you. It may save you in the long run money.
Well, cool. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.